Hello, Cotty here. Today we're going to be going over updates on our Day 2 Lich. We started off as a Bleed Aura Lich and had a lot of fun with it, but wanted something that was a little bit faster at clearing maps so we can pick up our speed and get more corruption going and just get more levels faster. And so we went with a Flay Harvest Cold Conversion melee character. And so we'll go ahead and fire up a boss here. We do need to do a boss, and then we need to do our Orbis. Playstyle is pretty straightforward. You just spam Harvest and Flay. As long as you have mana, you can dump out Flays. Flays are going to do a lot of things for our build, including summoning skeletons, which we are spec'd into, so we can have more skeletons. More skeletons means a much more potent freeze on Flay. So one of our primary defenses is freeze. We do also have a Pale Ox chest piece, and that gives us damage going out to our minions, or redirected to our minions instead of to us. And so we do want to make sure that we have minions up for that. And then speccing into the skeletal warriors also just gives us 6 skeletal warriors instead of 3 to absorb all of those hits. Harvest is our primary source of damage whenever we don't have mana for Flay, which is like all of the time because Flay is very expensive and we attack incredibly fast. Outside of that, we are using Aura of Decay as a way to both keep our Lich form active through the passive healing and in order to debuff the targets and make them take increased cold damage by having their resistances lowered. No new blessings, Sag. And let's go ahead and kill our Orbis and get this corruption up. Right, 204 right now. And we're flying through everything at 200, so we definitely need to keep pushing corruption up. As you can see, single target damage is really solid. And the execute is very nice as well. No shattered chains. We do need a new shattered chains. We don't have one of those yet. Mapping is very, very fast on the build and very fun. You're going to just basically flicker strike everywhere with Flay. And then harvest credit. And that's all of our mapping. Movement is really high on the build because our dagger is increasing our movement. Our Lich form is increasing our movement. And then we have evades for movement, Lich dash for movement, and of course the Flay flicker strike for movement. And so as a result, we can zoom around the maps pretty readily. Survivability is pretty good on the build. The corrupted form, high endurance threshold, massive leech, overleech, and the small ward shield as a little bit of a backup for tankiness makes us pretty survivable. We can stand most one hits, and as long as we're not stunned, it's almost impossible for us to die with so much recovery. And so this is the main reason we switched off of the Bleed Aura Lich, was just to get access to this super fast mapping. Now let's take a look at the build itself. For items, we are running a Velocin's Jaw. I currently have T7 melee attack speed on here. Not what I wanted to have on here though. I put this into a Nemesis trying to get LP on it, and instead I got attack speed on it. The attack speed is not a bad choice, but a T7 melee cold would have been a way better choice because I do already have a perfect rolled T7 attack speed on my Trader's Tongue, and attack speed is starting to give me diminishing returns. So ideally, you would run melee cold damage and a +4 dex skills on your Velocid's Jaw. Offhand is a Trader's Tongue. Make sure you get the highest number of skills you can get out of it, and then get some LP for it and slam on some melee attack speed. Ideally, this would have melee attack speed and shred armor, because I currently do not have a source of shred armor on the build. For a body armor, we are running Mantle of the Pale Ox with a T7 increased health on it. We would like a 2 LP version of this with T7 increased health and T7 flat health. Health is very important to the build. We're sitting at 5k max HP, which means we have about 2,500 unreserved HP, as we can call it. For our helmet, we do want an endurance-based helmet, ideally with health and increased health on it, int or dex, and then some other good prefix. Ideally, this would be both int and dex on it, but bleed is what I have. Next, we have our Evolution's End. We have a 2LP version of this with T7 health and stun avoidance, which is very important. Stun avoidance is critical for the build because you get smashed and die very easily if you get chain stunned. And then we also got lucky and grabbed as 66% increased cold damage on the legendary roll. For our ring, we are running a dex increased crit, endurance, and elemental resistance. On our belt, we are running a Shattered Chains. On our siphon, we're running a T6 health siphon that has some int on it. Int or dex is good. Ideally, you would get a T7 health on that, though. On our gloves, we are running T7 melee attack speed, increased crit chance, endurance, and health hybrid. For our boots, we are waiting desperately for LP boots so we can slam some more movement speed into this build. And for our relic, we are running a +3 to harvest. I would like to have a +4 to harvest instead. And then the increased health regeneration is not ideal. Preferably that would be something like frailty or shred armor or some other useful suffix there. Even a resistance would potentially be good. But a +4 harvest and a T5 dex or int is very, very strong on your relic slot. There are other options here for your relic, but I'm sticking with this, just a relic that has good stats on it right now. We'll decide what unique we want to run and slam LP into it later on. For our idols, we're running ward increased health, ward increased health, ward increased health, ward increased health. We're using idols to fill out our endurance, so we have 60% endurance. And then once we have that, we would like to move these over to crit idols. So as our endurance gets filled out with our gear, we'll move these idols over to crit. And then small idols we're just using to fill in resistance gaps that we're missing in the build. Ideally, we would be running 4 Stout Weaver idols with increased health or crit and resistances. That would be the ideal setup there. Now, as far as our passive tree goes, we are 20 into Acolyte, damage, 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 and 8 and 8 int, and necrotic resistance is very important. And then 89 into Lich, and we will probably be going everything into Lich and just filling out these intelligence nodes as we level our character up. Basically, we just take everything in the entire tree that does damage. Like if it does damage, we took it. Int here, int here, int here, and int here, all very, very important. We do take our attack speed and crit in our crit node here. We take our dex node, we take our increased attack speed node here, so on and so forth. This is a pretty straightforward tree. There's nothing too complex to look at here. And the build really doesn't have very many options. This is kind of following a couple of people that are doing the build. I think Lizard has a build of this up that is close to it. But you don't really have that many options. The skills are, these are the 4 skills you're going to run. We run Reperform. In Reperform, we take damage and survivability. We run Flay. In Flay, we take all of our Flay nodes here for copies of Flay for clear and AoE. We do take this node here to reduce the mana cost. We take this node here to increase our attack speed. And then we go over, convert it, and run Chill of the Grave so that we have 40 freeze rate per skeleton, which is why we're running 6 skeletons. 240 freeze rate is an insane amount of freeze rate because freeze rate is hard to get a hold of. And so this is a very, very strong part of the build. And then Corrosive Slash down here for exposed flesh, which reduces cold resistance and armor and increases the chance for them to be frozen. And that's also very, very strong. Then we go over to Harvest. Harvest is damage, 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 damage. we take 1 point here in Learn Weakness. If you have enough skill points, you take 2 or 3. Depends on how many skill points you're getting out of your daggers. We do take Life Eater because it's a tremendous amount of recovery for the character that goes alongside with our Leech. We are taking Shatter to convert it to Cold, 3 out of 3 Finality for kill threshold, and then 3 out of 3 Death Inside for the 90% multiplicative damage bonus. Over in R of Decay, we're taking Fume Weaver for reduced cold resistance because we have converted everything with Cold Death. We are taking 4 out of 4 Respite to make up for the loss in cold resistance that we have from Fume Weaver. We're taking Vulnerability and Absence of Life to scale our life recovery to allow us to stay in Lich form between fights faster or longer when we don't have any Leech active. And then you can fill out Plague Rat and Inoculation with the remaining points that you have on your character. And then your last skill slot, I mean, there's a lot of options. You can take Transplant for movement and survivability and Frenzy Haste. You can take Bone Golems for taunts, more tankiness, and increased freeze rate base. You can take Summon Skeletons like I did for increased freeze rate base and body blocks and just more fodder for Pale Ox. You can take Death Seal for a massive tanky cooldown. You're basically unkillable in Reaper form with Death Seal active. You can even take Wandering Spirits if you go over to Harvest and you take Agonizing Siphon, and you can dump out a ton of damage with Wandering Spirits and Harvest. So there's a lot of flexibility with this last skill point here, and I've been playing around with a bunch of them, and I've kind of settled on either Summon Skeleton or Bone Golem as the main choice there. And so that is how the character is laid out. I will post a link to the character down below in the video. And if you have any questions, come by Twitch, come by YouTube and ask. I'm happy to answer them. Thank y'all for watching. Have a wonderful day. Peace.